right. Hello, everybody. Hello. Running a bit late today because, boy, the time really flew by today. I had, before I knew it, it was already almost 4, and I was like, I have to get ready for this live stream. Let's see. Go to my video. This should be it. Turn that down. Alright, so who do we got in the chat? We have RMS Queen Mary. Hello, RMS Queen Mary. Hello, Haley. Hello, Aaron. Hello, Wolf Gaming. Hello, Ken. Ken says, hi, Alex. Have you checked out the channel Olympic WS? Really good footage of liners set to epic music with some facts interjected. Yes, actually, I am subscribed to Olympic WS. Hello, Queen Mary again. Hey, Thomas, what's going on? Hey, Todd. Hello, Alicia. Oh, wow, from Panama. Wow. Well, hello to Alicia from Panama. Hello, Tyler. Okay, so you guys are probably going to see me prepare some stuff. I didn't make the cucumber sandwich like I normally make. I was going to make the egg sandwich this time. So you guys are going to kind of see that process. So like literally probably the first like 20 minutes of this live stream is going to be me making the sandwich for the rest of the live stream. And then I have everything else portioned out, so you'll probably see all that. Aaron says, you're wearing cornflower blue. It must be Tuesday. Cornflower blue. I've never heard of that before. Alright, so, like I said, I have to prepare the sandwich, and you guys will get to see that. Let's see. And then I'll try to answer your comments and questions as I work. So, let me see. I'm probably going to really suck at this, actually. Let's see. There's... Oh, that's not going to fall forward, is it? That's better. There's a stapler holding down this box that I keep everything on. I suppose you don't really need to see that stapler, though. Alright. So, the phone will go here. This can be moved over. Alright, so I can see your guys' comments here, and you should be able to hear me even clearer since I'm closer to the camera. Let me get my... small cutting board. Some of these. Alrighty. I hate doing this part, but at least I get to talk to you guys while I do it, so... Alright, so... RMS Queen Mary says, what happened to the Kaiser? Wasn't he... He was going to be assassinated, wasn't he? And then they, he left, Russia, I think, to spare his own life. So I think he was going to be assassinated. Not really sure, but I'll let someone else who knows better answer that. Let's see here. Haley says, do you think Carousel of Progress should come back to Disneyland? Not really, but I mean, then again, that's just my opinion. I personally don't like the Carousel of Progress. That doesn't mean I don't respect its history and its connection to Walt, but I personally don't like Carousel of Progress. I'd rather see America Sings come back to Tomorrowland at Disneyland, but even then, nobody today could appreciate those shows. I mean, yeah, people appreciate Carousel of Progress at Walt Disney World, but Walt Disney World is a different atmosphere than Disneyland. There's a reason why those shows left, and it's because it's just a different kind of people. Why is this not... This egg does not want to peel. This is why I hate doing this. And everyone has their own, like, their own way of doing it. They say, oh, you know, put vinegar in the water, or put salt, or handle them really, really hot in really, really cold water. And I've tried all of them. None of them have made much of a difference to me. So I've just gotten used to letting them cool down a little bit in the water, and then trying my best not to break them into pieces. I hate taking... This is part of the reason why I don't make the egg sandwich for the live streams, because it's time-consuming and it's frustrating. Alright, so Armis Queen Mary says the ship. There were several Kaiser ships, like several of them. So I'm not really sure what you mean. Alright, so that can go there. Tyler says, Alex, if you do Thursday tea time, I won't be able to be here as I'm going to the temple with my friends. I am a Latter-day Saint. Okay. Well, I'll be here. Let's see. There's like a little membrane on the egg that you have to make sure you're peeling off as well. Otherwise, the egg won't go easily. This one is suspiciously easier to peel. I say suspiciously because usually when it goes really well at the beginning with the peeling, it usually gets really bad towards the end. Usually means that the stupid thing is gonna break apart as I'm peeling it. So, and I just realized that I can hear myself on my own live stream. I have to fix that in a little bit when my hands aren't covered in egg. Yeah, Thomas Brooks is asking the Kaiser Wilhelm der Grosse, but see, the first thing that comes to my mind is like the Kaiser, the Kron, like the Kaiser. I forget, but yeah, Kaiser Wilhelm der Grosse is one of the Kaiser ships. There were a few Kaiser ships, so that's why I didn't know what Queen Mary was asking. Alright, that's good. Now I can take those. Garbage. Extra water cup. Alright, so... a metal bowl. Let's see what anybody's asking. Tyler says, if you don't know what Latter-day Saints are, we used to call ourselves Mormon. Latter-day Saints and Mormons are one and the same. Yeah, I know what Latter-day Saints are. I've had friends who, well, my friends called themselves Mormon, but yeah, I think it's probably because it was just easier to explain to people. But yeah, I've had friends who are Latter-day Saints. I have friends from all kinds of religious backgrounds. I'm used to it. I've had friends, even in high school, we're going to mash these up now. I've had friends even in high school who were, who practiced Islam, and I myself grew up as an evangelist. My mother was Catholic. So, yeah, all kinds of backgrounds. Let's see. My mother was always trying to convert me to Catholicism. And what's funny is evangelists get a really bad rap. I'm sure all the religions do. Because they're so, Well, you know how they are. You don't need me to tell you what evangelists are like. But we weren't those kind of evangelists. At least that's not how we were. So I actually used to like the church we went to. I no longer go to church because I no longer believe in church. But yeah, it's not to say I don't believe in religion. Well, that's not what I mean. I think I believe in some kind of higher power. I am spiritual to a certain degree, but I don't believe that, in my opinion, that I can find what I'm looking for in current religions. That being said, I do have a lot of respect for the Buddhist religion. There's a lot of things in there that I think people could take to heart. Alright, so enough about religion. Alright, let's see. Hello, Fox Starline, how you doing? I'm making the egg sandwich for the... Almost knocked it off the thing. Making the egg sandwich for the tea time. So, next thing is... This is the other thing about the tea sandwich. It's pretty... I don't know the word. Alright, so... It's half softened butter and half mayonnaise. The butter needs to be soft, or else it won't mix properly. So that's about a tablespoon. Okay. It's about a tablespoon of butter, and we're going to do about equal mayonnaise. Well, yeah, about equal mayonnaise. There we go. Now, normally you would put watercress in the sandwich. Watercress is a type of leafy plant. Almost, it's similar to cabbage, but not like cabbage in any way, if that makes any sense. It's a very leafy little plant, and it has a mild flavor. It tastes pretty good, though. The problem is, they don't sell watercress anywhere where I live, so I can't get it. So, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use dill. It's experimental. I know it tastes nothing like watercress, but I have dill. So, gotta make sure the knife is sharp. Alright. RMS Queen Mary says, what happened to the RMS Majestic? If I already told you, I forgot. Wait, if you're asking, why are you saying you might have already told me? I don't want to answer questions just because you're testing me. That's not fair. Okay, so my friend Eric does that. He might be in the comments too. Eric, if you're in the comments, you do that to me too. You already know the answer to questions before you ask them, and then you test me to see if I know. And the truth is, I'm still new to ocean liners. If you've watched some of my live streams, I talk about how I've probably only been into ocean liners in general for maybe about a year. Yeah. But I've been into the Queen Mary for 2 years, and then before that I was into Titanic for about 10 years. So, well, since 2012. 2012 is when I became really obsessed with Titanic. 2020 is when I became really obsessed with Queen Mary. 2021 is when I started learning about other ocean liners. Set that aside. So, I don't presume to know a lot about them. Ivan says, hi Alex, why was the spruce goose built from wood? Because during World War II, when it was commissioned by the United States military, I forget if it was the Air Force or something, I forget who commissioned it, but in the early years, they needed all the metal that they could get to build ships to go across the water. So when they commissioned Howard Hughes to build the Spruce Goose, they literally told him, you can't use that much metal because we don't have enough. We need them for the ships. I'm just going to go ahead and... So, yeah, that's why it's made of wood. It's actually not made of spruce like some people think. It's made of birch. So, but the, what do you call them? The press at the time didn't know that, and so they were nicknaming it the Spruce Goose. Alright, let's see. I don't know where my salt is. We're going to do a little bit of garlic powder, just a little light sprinkling over the top. There we go. A little bit, I'd say a hefty pinch of salt. Too little too. You know what I'm going to do? Let's make that 2 pinches, because now that I sprinkle it in there, I kind of realize it's not enough. Alright. Now we use the fork. So, let's see. Ken asks, do you like the uneven funnel spacing on the Kaiser class ships? I don't, actually. But I do think the insides of the ships are extremely beautiful. So, so that, to me, kind of makes up for it, But yeah, the uneven spacing of the funnels does kind of drive me crazy when I look at it. But yeah, the interiors of those ships are really beautiful. But it's one of those things where I don't know if I would personally choose to stay on those ships over the other ones that are out at sea. Like, I think the SS Paris and the SS France were really beautiful. I'd probably stay on those ships. Right before I came on here to do the live stream, I was working on my next video about why I hate SS Normandy, and so it's weird because SS Normandy is not one of the ships I would choose to stay on. Fox Starling says, Alex, again, if you have any questions about ocean liners, let me know. Ocean liners. No, I know. But I don't have the time to write a bunch of questions up and be like, hey, tell me about this, and that. Like, if I have a question, I'll ask. But I haven't had any questions, like, it's kind of the same problem when I used to tell people, I say, hey, people ask me questions about Disneyland. They'd say, well, now that you want to know, we don't know what to ask. So that's the same thing with me, is if I don't have the question at the moment, then it's hard for me to ask. So, but if I do have a question, I'll ask. I have actually like 10 different people who have offered to help me with that. Some of them are historians, some of them are enthusiasts. So I've actually been really lucky to meet lots of people. I am making this egg sandwich kind of hefty because I have a lot of egg, and I don't feel like making 2 sandwiches. I already have lots of pastries to eat for this tea time. Maybe next time I do a live stream, I'll show you how to do the cucumber sandwich. Again, it's really simple, just like this sandwich is simple. I do have like a few bites of egg left, but I don't need it. So normally, when you put the sandwiches together, you want to chill them. That makes them tougher, so that way when you need to cut them, they cut easier. However, I ran out of time today, so I don't have the time to cut them the way I wish. Where is my bread knife? I think I have to wash my bread knife real quick. Hold on, everybody. I gotta wash my bread knife. It takes forever for the water to heat up. There we go. Alrighty, wash the bread knife. Gotta dry my hands and dry this knife. Alright, let's see what I've missed. Alicia says, did you see my previous comment, Alex the Historian? My grandparents are actually Spanish-born and moved to Panama from Cadiz via Southampton and New York in 1920 and sailed to the USA on the RMS Olympic of the White Star Line. Wow, that is actually really incredible. That's actually really cool. Haley, do you think Mickey Mouse Review should come back to Walt Disney World and Tokyo Disneyland? I mean, if people want it, then maybe, but I personally don't require it. This is going to be real tough. I can already tell the egg wants to kind of smush. Don't worry, I'll eat these crusts later. This is just for show. Alright, let's see. Can I cut it into fingers without it getting everywhere? Yeah, alright. I had a feeling this sandwich wouldn't be so bad if it was room temperature, because I had a feeling the egg would actually hold together better. I'm actually really excited to try that. Again, normally you put watercress with it, but I didn't have any watercress. One last scoop of egg, might as well have it before it goes bad. Oh, that's good. Okay, leave that on the side for me later. I will put the knives away though. Alright, now I have to preheat the teacup and the teapot. So I'll be at the sink real quick. Let me see. Ivan asks, why is Olympics Promenade Deck open and why is Titanic's Promenade Deck closed? Because the ocean spray used to come in through the front of the ship and onto Olympics Promenade Deck. And so they've closed the front of the promenade deck, you can kind of see from the model over there, to prevent the ocean spray from affecting people. But then it opens up towards the midsection of the ship. All right, just a second. I'm going to warm up these things, and I'll start the kettle. There we go. Alright, so all I did was warm them up with the hottest tap water I have, which, to be honest, doesn't feel hot. But then, what's funny is I say that it doesn't feel hot, but then every time I wash dishes, dry off my hands. Every time I wash dishes with really hot water, I end up actually, like, scalding my hands. So, I don't think my hands are as sensitive to heat as they used to be. Funnily enough. Actually, I can steer this that way. Yeah. I want to put the kettle closer so I don't spill water everywhere when I try to... Oh, I will need a napkin. Napkin for me. Okay. Alright, friends, that was how to prepare an egg sandwich as close to English style as possible without actually going overboard. No, I'm just kidding about the overboard thing. Do I have all the right light? Yeah, I look fine. Alrighty, so let's see here. Joe says, have you ever considered making a video going over the deck plan of the Queen Mary, deck by deck? I think that would be so interesting. It would be interesting to the super ocean liner fans, but I don't know that I could make it interesting for everybody. But I have considered something like that. The other thing I want to do is, I have that that Queen Mary cutaway that is on my wall, the opposite wall, and I thought about finding a way to digitize that so that way I can put that on the computer and then show you around the ship from 1936 using the cutaway, because it is colored and so it looks nice, and but I don't know how to digitize it with a high enough what do you call it? You need a resolution that is like more than 4,000 by 4,000 pixels in order to see something up that close with that much detail. And my phone, it does 4K, but that's about it. And my camera is the same thing. My camera does 4K, but it's just not a high enough resolution to take a photo of the picture. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that, but I have considered options for doing stuff like that. Armis Queen Mary says Queen Anne is going on her maiden voyage, I think. Wait, I thought people said that they barely started working on it. So what is it? Have they started work on it, or has it launched already? Starboard says, what do you think Disneyland should replace their coleslaw with? I don't know. I like Disneyland's coleslaw. I just don't like having the cabbage in everything I eat there. So I like the coleslaw. I'm generally a coleslaw fan. I love coleslaw. I would never want to replace it. Alicia says Queen Anne is still under construction. I thought so. Fox Online says, Alex, what do you think of Titanic's theories, like the V-break? I feel like several people have pretty much proven that the V-break wasn't, like, never happened. I mean, granted, it's not 100% obviously, because unless we were there, we don't know for sure. But I feel like James Cameron even proved that wrong, and stuff. Half. I gotta dump out half, not all of it. So for those of you who are new here, the China already had half hot tap water in it. It had hot tap water in it, and I'm dumping out half to fill the rest with boiling water to bring up the temperature of each. Cool. So let that sit for about 2 minutes or so, just to bring up the temperature to really hot. Because otherwise, authentic China will crack from the shock of the temperature difference. Okay, so but the V-break, Yeah, I don't know. I never believed it. When I first heard the V-brake theory, I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. You know, it's just. I mean, I understand where they're coming from, but I personally don't believe the wreckage looks like the V-brake happened. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it looks like the parts are smushed, but James Cameron's theory of the lack of support in those areas, and when the ship actually hit the bottom of the ocean, and the decks collapsed on each other, and then it was made even worse by a column of water coming down after the ship. That made more sense to me, because I've seen stuff like that happen. Believe it or not, in the kitchen sink. When I was a little kid, my parents made me do dishes. I hated doing dishes so much that I just play in the dishes. You know what I mean? Like, I'd just sitting there, and I'd make dishes float and sink and stuff like that. And I've seen how water moves around objects and stuff like that. I've seen a cup filled with water and then drop to the bottom of the sink, and there's a big column of dirty water that flows after it. And so all that made sense to me. You know what I mean? So what didn't make sense to me was the V-brake and stuff like that. So I was just like, eh. I think the answer was like James Cameron said. It's more simple than what people are led to believe. Madeline says, love these tea times. Hope you're doing well, Alex. I am. Thank you so much. Alicia says, my parents are Roman Catholic and I am a Baptist. Oh, wow. Roman Catholic and Baptist. And you're living in Panama, right? That's the same person? Let's see. Armis Queen Mary says, why did Britannic and Titanic funnels fall? That's actually a really good question, because a lot of people, I had someone ask me earlier today. They said, what does the inside of the funnels look like? And apparently a lot of people have that question. They don't know what the insides of the various funnels look like. But like I said, for the most part, and the model I have back here doesn't show it, so I would show you, it doesn't have it. But for the most part, many ship funnels had a series of tubes that you might call chimneys or something. Series of tubes, usually one per boiler, or maybe they shared or something like that. Sometimes it was just one giant tube where all the boilers shared, but there were usually a series of tubes that were bunched together, and then there was an air gap around the tubes that allowed hot air, just hot ambient air from the boiler rooms to flow up around the boiler exhaust flumes. And then there was the outer casing of the funnels, like we see like on Titanic here. And the thing is that funnels are essentially like 90% like empty. There's nothing in them. It's just a bunch of tubes. So they're not very strong. I mean, they'll hold the weight of a person, obviously, but they're not strong in terms of most funnels on ships way back when couldn't stand on their own. They could stand with pressure coming down like this, but if there was lateral movement, the funnels could easily topple over, which is why they used ropes we call them funnel stays. And the ropes held the funnels in place so they didn't move this way and that way. Because they could stand, like a paper towel dowel. They could stand easily like that, but as soon as you put lateral movement, they just want to crumple up and fall over, just like you saw in the movie Titanic. So that's why they weren't rigid structures. I think one of the first ships to have rigid funnels was SS Normandy. It had very strong funnels that didn't require funnel stays to keep it up. And then Queen Elizabeth, not Queen Mary, but Queen Elizabeth also had strong funnels that didn't necessarily require funnel stays, but she did still have funnel stays. Oh, just need to dump this one out. So that's why the funnels collapsed, was because in those days, funnels didn't... oh, shoot, I forgot I was going to bring that back up to a boil. It's probably still hot enough, but but I just want to bring it up to a boil real quick. Aaron says, who is your favorite artist of any media? Any media? I mean, I don't know. I feel like I need something more specific than that. Because at the moment I can't think of anything. Okay. Now the tea. And today we're having English breakfast tea, Twinings, which is really good if you want to have an authentic tea experience. That goes for 5 minutes, so 4:43. I have to check on that then. Glenn says, hey, what? Oh, yeah, I'm here at the normal time. Oh, I see, Alicia. Okay. I didn't know that. Arms Queen Mary says, what if ships had built-in funnels? What does that mean? Built-in funnels. I mean, the whole point of a funnel is to move the smoke high above the ship so that way the smoke doesn't get in passengers' faces. If you just build the decks up around a funnel, then you're not properly, the funnel's not doing its job then, because if people are on those upper decks and the funnel's just right there, it will get smoke in people's faces and soot everywhere. So the purpose of a funnel wasn't decoration, it was to get the smoke high up into the air, away from the ship, carry it off so that way the passengers weren't, getting facefuls of smoke and soot. 3 more minutes. Hey, Goofy. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I moved this picture down a couple inches so that way I could move the angle of the camera down so you could see more of the table and what I'm doing here. So I'll move that aside. Yeah, I always set down a towel when I do these tea times because I don't want to accidentally set down a plate or something and then all of a sudden I chip the bottom on the granite countertop, I don't want to damage the plates. I don't want to cause any further damage than they've already had. So I lay down a little towel so that way they don't I don't smash them down on anything. Because I do have a habit of doing that sometimes. I set down a plate and I just put it down too hard, so. 2 more minutes on the tea. So how is everybody doing? That's weird. Normally we have more people talking, but not that many today. So I might as well tell you what's happening on Friday, because I'm going to try to post, to schedule a live stream for Friday. So something big is happening on Friday. And yeah, Aaron, I made the examiner study, showed you guys how to make it. Again, normally make it with watercress, but I don't have that. But anyway, so So, like I told you, I volunteer with QMI. I help them with whatever it is that they might need me to do for them to help get the word out about the Queen Mary and help update people. Like I'm able to do these monthly updates about the Queen Mary because QMI helps to bring that information to me and update me. Um, but yeah, so we had a meeting and we were talking about the latest public information that the city put out about the Queen Mary and what's going to happen to it. And it was, some of the information was really shocking. But the thing is that unless you know what's going on behind the scenes, it would just seem like a normal update. Like, oh, that's, like you look at it from the outside and you're like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Like they have, they've chosen a specific organization to handle the historical oversight of the Queen Mary. And that sounds like a great thing. Like, oh, well, awesome. We need a historical organization to watch over the Queen Mary's antiques and artifacts. But the problem is that what the public doesn't know is that there are some really questionable things about that organization. And there's a reason why some people don't trust the organization with handling the Queen Mary. And so we all felt that these things need to be said. I think at this point, a lot of stuff has to be put out on the table for the public to see and understand. And so on Friday, I'm going to be interviewing 3 key people who can give me information in QMI in order to be able to finally bring the public the information that they need about what's going on about the ship. Because we've kept somewhat quiet because we had some high hopes for what's going to happen to the ship, and while there are still some positive things happening for the Queen Mary, and no, the ship is not going to sink, no, it's not going to collapse, no, it's not going to flood and capsize, it's fine, it'll be fine, but in terms of operation, we have some concerns. And the information behind those concerns is somewhat shocking information. And so that's why we want to do this. So I'm telling you guys, if you really want to know what's happening behind the scenes of the Queen Mary and the city of Long Beach and how it's all being handled, you're going to want to tune in for this live stream. I'm already putting together a series of questions I can ask the 3 board members so that way they can better explain this stuff. But it is just, like I was saying to them, I said the stuff that is going on between the city and the Queen Mary, and it's all happening behind the scenes, this stuff, you could write like a drama show about it. It could even be a whole new reality TV show like The Tiger King. It's that level of drama happening behind the scenes that most of the public doesn't know. And it's just like, it's upsetting. It's like every month when we have meetings and we talk about what's going on with the ship, for me it's utterly upsetting, the information. Like, the information that we get is just, like, sad. The ship does not deserve to be treated so poorly. So, anyway, tune in on Friday. I will be scheduling that live stream so that way you can actually, like, click a button and get reminded of when to tune in. I'm thinking about doing it 4 p.m. on this Friday, Pacific time. So, same time as my tea times, just on Friday. And the reason why is because I know some of you are overseas, and 4 p.m. Pacific time is not a good time for you, but it seems that most of my viewership happens on my channel at around 4 p.m. So that's when I'm going to catch the most people watching anything on my channels at 4 p.m. And Friday being a better day. So, yeah, tune in for that. It's going to be some crazy stuff. El Nino says, whether I prefer Olympics open promenade deck or Titanic's promenade deck, I personally like the open one. Makes the ship look fine. It doesn't matter that much to me, honestly. I think operationally, if I was on the Titanic, I would prefer having the closed promenade deck to shield me from the high winds and the sea spray. But, but from looks, Olympics open promenade deck appears nice, and I don't know, it's hard to say. It doesn't really matter that much to me. Hey, Crackin' Teeth, how you doing? Madeline says, it was neat watching the sandwich get made. Oh, yeah. Glad you enjoyed that. Hold on, I'm going up through the things. I feel like I missed a lot. Alicia says, I have a 1940 Royal Albert 100-year anniversary tea set that costed me 300 Panamanian Balboa, which is $300 USD. Wow. Right, let's see. Robert says, them cookies look good. Yes, definitely. Especially these. These are the Scottish shortbread that I made here at home, and they are so delicious. The older they get, the better they taste. I don't know how that works, but it does. Haley says, which do you prefer, Main Street Electrical Parade or Paint the Night? I don't like either, but if I had to choose, I'd choose Electrical Parade. I'm not a parade person, but I would choose Main Street Electrical Parade. Sometimes you can catch me humming the tune. Ivan asks, where would you chill? In Cafe Parisienne or the Palm Courts? The Palm Courts. Yeah, the Palm Courts. Bridevale says, I've always held out hope that they'd actually do a proper right job. I'd like this wait. But Yeah, Long Beach has been pretty shady. And it's upsetting because they don't need to be. That's the funny part. Is like, they could use their PR people to really make what they're doing look like a really awesome thing and do the right stuff for the community. But they don't. They try to cover up things that they're doing. It's like, if you just stop doing shady stuff, you won't have to worry about covering it up all the time. Like, what the heck? It's just upsetting. Pookie Smoochie says, have you seen the interior of the MS Victoria? The grand staircase reminds me of Titanic. It's got the Victorian Edwardian feel to it. I haven't seen it, actually. Do you mean... You're talking about the new Cunard ocean liner, right? The one built a couple years back. The Cunard Victoria. I think I have seen it. Yeah. Alex says, hello, Alex from the Queen Mary. Are you actually on the Queen Mary? You always ask me, or say hello or something from the Queen Mary. Are you on the Queen Mary right now? Who are you? Why are you there? Yeah, I was going to say MS Elizabeth sounds more like it. I feel like the MS Elizabeth is more Edwardian/Victorian. Oh, yeah. You meant to ask me about the MS Elizabeth interior. Yeah, the MS Elizabeth interior is beautiful. Very beautiful. Jennifer says, Alex, did you see there is a Greco-Roman wrestling tournament next to the Queen Mary this weekend? I didn't know that, but yeah, that makes sense because they're trying to host a bunch of events near the Queen Mary, try to get everything back up and going. They want to have the ship reopened by the end of the year. There's even some talks that they're going to try to get the hotel portion opened up by the end of the year, but we'll see how that goes. So good. RMS Queen Mary says, did you know that when the Queen Mary had her maiden voyage, when she passed over the Titanic wreck, they threw flowers over for the grave of thousands of people? Yes, in fact. I talked about that in my episode called called Building the Queen Mary. It talked about the maiden voyage and them going over the area and tossing over a wreath of red roses. Oh wow, Alicia, that's pretty cool. Do you have a plank of RMS Olympic as well? Like the teak decking? Because I heard some people have those, the teak decking. Ivan says, I wish the Titanic wreck looked like the Endurance's wreck. So well preserved, yet not a lot of microbes in those waters. Yeah, the waters are too cold and too remote for the microbes. It's crazy, I'm barely getting into my tea stuff, and it's already like almost the end of tea time, which is hilarious. That's how late I was running today. Charlie says the man in charge of the Queen Mary is getting ready to relaunch next year. I haven't read the full announcement that they put out online yet. I was going to do that today, but what man in charge? Alex says, Alex, did you hear the good news? What good news? RMS Queen Mary says, how did they launch the QM2? They built it in sections, and the launch was, they just filled the basin with water and the ship floated and they just pushed it out. Alicia says, yeah, plank of the boat deck of RMS Olympic. That's pretty cool. Pookie Smoochie, yeah. The Queen Mary 2, the Queen Mary 2 is a lot of money and a lot of time. But I feel like, for me, no matter how much it costs or how much time it takes, I feel like I want my first voyage to be on the Queen Mary 2. Just because it is an ocean liner, as opposed to like the Elizabeth, which is a cruise ship. So I feel like that's what I really want. Oh wow, Todd, thank you so much. Keep up the great work, Alex. Missed the Disneyland lives from a couple of years, but the Queen Mary content is so interesting. Have a great night. Oh, thank you so much, Todd. Oh, Pookie Smoochie, you're going to go Queen Elizabeth from San Fran to Vancouver? Okay. I've always wanted to see Vancouver. I don't live that far from it anymore. But I need to get my passport. Wolf Gaming says, what do you think of the Titanic Olympics swap theory? I personally think it's ridiculous, but I want to hear what you have to say. Oh, it's totally ridiculous. Unfortunately, the thing is that I've researched a lot of stuff about it, and I know that it's ridiculous, but I don't remember all the facts. So I can't sit here and tell you, oh, here's all the reasons why it's not true. Because I'll be honest, I don't remember. But what I do remember is doing the research and going, okay, I know for a fact that the swap theory is not true. But also, you can also take the word of the Titanic Honor and Glory people, because they have done a lot more research than most people have. But yeah, it's silly. I feel like that's the thing. I don't like conspiracy theories because they're always so outlandish and fake. And it really bugs me. Especially the conspiracy theories surrounding 9/11. Oh my gosh, those are divisive. People will swear up and down that it was a conspiracy. I'm like, it's not a conspiracy. Sometimes horrible things happen because terrible people exist, you know? It doesn't have to be something that goes deep beneath the surface. Tim Tams. These Tim Tams are so good. It's funny, during this tea time, I use up so many different dishes, and afterwards I have to do all the cleaning, so sometimes it almost feels like as soon as I'm done cleaning it all and getting it all prepped, it's like, oh, next day, gotta use it. But it is fun. It's nice to be able to use this stuff and not just let it gather dust. Believe me, when I acquired each of these things, they were all in bad condition in terms of cleanliness. They were all dirty. Caked on dust or stains or just awful stuff. Like, obviously they were kept on people's shelves or something, but never dusted, never cleaned. And when I got them, first thing I did is I soaked them in some warm water and a lot of dish detergent, and then just carefully went at each one, carefully just wiping it over and over again with the soft side of the sponge. And some of the stains were really did not want to come off, but you have to be gentle because you don't want to scrub them, or else they won't last as long if you just scrub them. Alicia says, if you see my profile pic, it's me in a traditional Panamanian frilly gown called a polo, or pollo, sorry, that I got as a birthday gift from my parents when I turned 18 in 2018. Oh, wow. It's hard to see because it's so small on my screen, but that's pretty cool. Oh, I think I see it. Yeah. That's really neat. Queen Mary says, I sent this video to my cousin. What video? Which one? Alex says, Alex, if Queen Mary goes into bankruptcy and there's an opportunity to buy it, what's the most you would pay? I don't have any money. It depends on how rich I am. If I have $1 million, the most I'd pay for the Queen Mary is $500,000, because I'd need the other half to at least try to start the ship on a good path. If I was as rich as Elon Musk, I'd be willing to spend, $1 billion or $2 billion on the ship if I had to. if the city of Long Beach was like, oh no, we're not selling this ship for anything less than $5 billion, and I was as rich as Elon Musk, I'd still say, okay, I'll buy it from you. Just give it to me because I'll take care of it. You know, of course, I'd have to be as rich as him. But yeah, that's what I would do. I really would, because I know a lot of people would argue against this, but the Queen Mary really could be a huge profitable ship. Like really, really profitable if you run it the right way and you offer the right things to people. People aren't going to want to spend a lot of money to get nothing back in return. That's been the whole problem all this time. You know, there's been no hot water for the showers. There's been no proper heating or cooling. You know, the ship is, you know, in bad condition. They haven't changed out the carpets in like 30 years. You know, and you know, there's vandalism and stuff on the ship, and it's you know, it's not, you know, the big beautiful rooms that they advertise on all their stuff is always behind lock and key. It's just like, of course the ship wasn't doing well. No one would want to pay that much money to get nothing back in return. So it's like, no wonder why. But if you run the ship the right way, the way she was designed. The ship was designed so if you run it like an ocean liner, it will be profitable. Now, the plus side of that is the ship no longer requires fuel. You no longer have to pay for fuel or port fees. I mean, if I move it, I'd have to pay for port fees, but you don't have to pay for fuel or port fees to run the ship. So it's almost like that's a whole expense you don't have to worry about. So if you just run the Queen Mary like she should have as an ocean liner, use all the rooms the same way they should have been built for being used, you should be fine. It's just, I don't understand, like, these companies that can't make it happen. Just like, what's going on? Sorry, my little rant's over. Cookie Smoochie says, would you consider using a different set to make your Cunard set last longer? I mean, of course. If I started noticing that there was damage to any of this stuff, like, if I started noticing that I was damaging it by using it, then I would not use it anymore, and I would just buy... Because there's sets on eBay right now that are from the 1930s that are not even ocean liner stuff. They're just 1930s tea sets. There was one I almost bought, and it was like a third the price of buying all of this, and it was an even bigger set. And I would have bought that, but as soon as as soon as all this caught my eye, I had to have it. But yeah, like, I'd use something else, but I wouldn't want to damage it further than it already is. But that being said, if it's not damaged, then I'd want to keep using it because that's really what it's meant for. But yeah, if there was a situation where I felt like, you know, there's not enough of this stuff left, or there's not enough of it in good condition left, then yeah, I'd also stop using it then as well. I'd just switch to something else that's antique but isn't as famous. So yeah, but because I do have a respect for antiques and vintage items. There are some vintage items I used to use that I no longer use anymore because, you know, it was getting old and I didn't want to damage it, and so stuff like that. But, you know, but this set is really good. And if you take really good care of China, like really good care of it, it should last forever. I mean, look at the wreckage of Titanic. That China's been sitting in salt water for over 110 years, and it's almost still brand new looking, even though it's been at the bottom of the ocean under all that pressure and salt water and sand and animals. And then you look at like old China that's dug up from areas that were built in the 1800s or the 1700s, and it's all still there in very good condition sometimes when they pull it out of the ground. And so yeah, this stuff will last forever if you take good care of it. So I don't worry about that, honestly. But yeah, again, if I did notice there was an issue with its condition, I wouldn't want to make it any worse. I'd want to just stop using it and then use something else. Let's see. Whoa. Hello, Harrison. How's it going? Oh, Queen Mary says it's in my channel. Okay. Aaron says, Alex, favorite actors slash actresses. Favorite actors slash actresses. Sigourney Weaver is one of my favorite actresses. I like almost any role she plays, honestly. Maybe I'm biased because I've loved her acting ever since I saw, the movie Alien. But yeah, so Sigourney Weaver, Maggie Smith, she's one of my favorites. And no, I know everyone's gonna be like, oh, because she's Professor McGonagall. That's not why. I loved Maggie Smith even before she was Professor McGonagall. Because when I was a kid, I used to watch the movie Hook. Yeah, she was in Hook. She played old Wendy. And yeah, and so she's been in like a lot of movies and things ever since. I've watched all her movies and stuff. Love her. Another actress I really like. Unfortunately, she passed away recently. I can't remember her name because it's a little bit of a tricky name. Let me see if I can Google it real quick. Because you'll know who it is as soon as I tell you. Cloris Leachman. Cloris Leachman, amazing actress. So those are my three favorites: Cloris Leachman, Maggie Smith, and Sigourney Weaver. Amazing. Actors. Who? Michael Caine. Michael Caine's really good. Always have a fun time watching movies of his. Whenever I do. I really like, what's his name? Bryan Cranston. Really like Bryan Cranston. And let me think of a third one, since I did 3 female actresses. I'll do a third one. Let me think of a modern actress. Somebody, they're all modern. They're all, most of them are solo. But I mean, like someone who's young. Someone who's young. This is gonna sound weird, but Timothée Chalamet. And no, it's not like the memes say. It's because I really think he's a good actor. Like, I saw him in the movie The King. Really great. He did a really good job. And the only thing, though, is the thing about Timothée Chalamet is he's almost always the same person in every movie that he's in. But, I mean, you can say the same for some other actors, But I'll even give you a fourth. I really like Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, so, yeah. Those are all my favorite actors, actresses. Really great actors, actresses. Pookie says, I don't know if I asked you this before, and forgive me if I have, but what do you think the future of ocean liners are? Do you think Queen Mary 2 will be the last? Do you think another will be built? I think that the future of ocean liners is kind of bleak, to be honest. Cruise ships are fine. Cruise ships, I think that business is even growing, in fact. But the problem with ocean liners is that they're more expensive to build. They make slightly less profit. Profit margin, I should say. Less profit margin. and they really only do specific things because sometimes they don't fit in the ports that you might want a cruise ship to go to. Sometimes. I think there's a very, very likely chance that Queen Mary 2 will be the last ocean liner built. But there's another almost equally big chance they might build one afterwards, just to keep the tradition, because Cunard is essentially the last company to have an ocean liner. I mean, the last ocean liner company to have an ocean liner, if you know what I mean. So if they stopped building them now, they'd be done, they would have broken a tradition. And Cunard is so steeped in tradition. So steeped in tradition. I almost wouldn't believe it if they decided not to build one. Because they'd be like, they don't like breaking tradition. For the longest time, they insisted on keeping the classism divide. So while most cruise ships, you go on a cruise ship and everybody can walk anywhere and do anything, with Cunard ships, there's still classism there. So you are separated between first and second and third classes and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people hate that. They think it's awful. But I don't know why. I feel almost like they do it well. They don't treat people like crap, you know what I mean? Like, they do it well. And I am a capitalist person. I believe that if you want to spend your money on a good experience like that, then you should. So, I mean, granted, as long as you're not doing anything illegal or terrible, if it's spending first class on an airplane or first class on an ocean liner, you should be allowed to do that. So I don't mind the classism stuff that happens on Cunard. And they do it really well. Like I said, they don't treat people like crap just because you're in third class versus first class. They do it really, really well. So, but back to the main question. It's possible they might build one more after Queen Mary 2. And from there, we'll have to see what happens to the ocean liner industry. Okay, so Alicia says, I am having mango pudding with a slice of apple pie with plain black tea while using my Royal Albert tea set. Awesome. Jamie says, Alex, been a subscriber for a few months. Started following you after your Queen Mary at War series, which was excellent. First time watching a tea time. Thanks for all you do, James. Oh, thank you so much. Glad you enjoy the videos. Yeah, there'll be more history videos on the Queen Mary and other ships coming up. The history videos take the longest to make. Charlie says, Alex, think it's possible for an ocean liner to be sentient or have a soul? Because I feel the Queen Mary does and connects with people. It's funny you say that because the former captains of certain ships will say that they could swear that their ships had a soul. And, even the last captain of the Queen Mary, Captain John Treasure Jones, said that of all the ships he's sailed, the Queen Mary was the closest to having a human soul. And so, yeah, I think that ships can, because it's hard, because you can't always say the same about something that is diesel operated, or a car. Sometimes cars have a personality. Honestly, I had a car that had a personality. That car liked to try to kill me. The brakes would go out and I'd glide through an intersection. So but yeah, the Queen Mary certainly does have a personality, and it's hard to describe that to people who don't know what that's like. When you operate something that is very complicated, a machine like the Queen Mary is one giant machine. When you operate it and it's very complicated, those different complexities can make your day change. Every day can be completely different. and in a way it almost develops a temperamentality. So so the ship can either have a good temperament one day and then a bad temperament the next, and so that's what those captains mean when the ships almost have a soul. And if you want to go even more spiritual in it, when you walk into some of these ships, they feel special. They feel like there's something there, something good, something, something. I walked into one ship, the SS Jeremiah O'Brien. That one felt not happy. Obviously, it was used in World War II, but the Queen Mary felt happy. That's part of the reason why I just don't believe those. Oh, she's got a vortex of evil that is, in the swimming pool area. I don't believe it because it's such a happy ship. You walk in there and it feels like people loved being on it. It feels like the ship was loved. So yeah, it's weird. They almost do have a soul. Thomas says, I tried the Earl Grey. It was delicious. Oh yeah, the Twinings Earl Grey, so good. Alex says, maybe the animals use the Titanic's china for tea time. Maybe. Let's see. Anthony says, where do you live, Alex? I'm in Aurora. Aurora. Where is that? I don't get specific about where I live, but I do live in the Portland area. Aaron says, great actresses, thank you. Tyler says, I love Cloris Leachman. She played Molly Brown in SOS Titanic. Really? I didn't know that. Oh, wow. Chris says, hi, Alex. Have you been on many cruises? Which one was your favorite? Mine's through the Panama Canal. I've never been on a cruise before. I do have kind of a fear of being on the open water, so I don't even like being on boats or anything. But I am willing to put aside my massive fear of the ocean to take a transatlantic trip twice on the Queen Mary 2, once to get to the UK and once on the way back. So I told my friend, I said, I'm willing to put aside my fear of oceans just to have that experience. So, but I don't see myself being a cruise ship person. Maybe an ocean liner person, but I've never liked the idea of cruises. If I do a cruise, it's going to be with Cunard, where everything is dignified and relaxing, and not, kids running around everywhere and stuff like that. Like, my friend said, oh, what if we take a Disney cruise? Because I was a Disney fan. And I said, oh. I said, Disney has amazing cruise ships, but I would not want to be surrounded by children for that long. Can't do it. Aaron says, interesting choice of actors. Neat. Thank you. Armis Queen Mary says, mine's are Kate Winslet, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Kathy Bates. I wonder why. Alright, Armis Queen Mary, see you later. Thank you so much. Pookie says, what class would you travel on your crossing? So you wouldn't be able to see the grandest rooms if you book a lower... Wait. What class would you travel on your crossing? So you wouldn't be able to see the grandest rooms if you book a lower class? No, not necessarily. When it comes to the modern Cunard, they actually don't have much segregation as opposed to the old Cunard. So I think really the biggest segregation is there's one area near the Lido deck at the end of the Queen Mary 2, for instance, where it's only the people in first class can be there. And then they have a restaurant in first class that only the first class can be there. But most of the ship is available to everybody. So really the classism is really more about the room you're in, which if you think about it, isn't that big a deal. Because everybody's either buying a cheap room or an expensive room. So, but as far as I know, and there's like a few other perks, like if you're in first class, you get a certain gym to yourself, you get a certain spa to yourself or something like that, but essentially there isn't much of a difference, which is why I say that I think they do it really well, because you're paying for a first class experience, but you're not necessarily being segregated from everybody. and same thing with third class. You're not necessarily being segregated from everybody. You're just in with everything, and there's just a room or here or there you can't enter. But it's not like a full on like it used to be, where the classes couldn't even walk in the same hallways. You know, like Queen Mary was like that. The original Queen Mary was like that. You couldn't, if you were in third class, you couldn't walk in first class areas, that kind of thing. But the new ships, everybody's allowed to walk everywhere. Let's see. Griff says, "Hi Alex, how are you?" I'm doing great, Griff. How are you? Let's see. Hello, S. Karthik. Hey, Matthew, what's going on? Tyler says, the first on Queen Mary 2 are those who book the Princess and Grill suites. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's not even like the full-on classism. Alright, now for the egg sandwiches. They've waited long enough. Okay. Really good. Although a little bit of a pain to put together, but one of the reasons why I let them sit so long is because when you let the dill sit in a mixture like this, the dill tastes more dilly. So if you just eat it like straight after cutting it up, it's the flavor isn't that good. You have to let it sit for a few minutes. So, but this is really good. And the next time I could show you how to make the cucumber sandwich, but then I don't know if I could cut it up for you, because if I did that, it might just smush apart. We'll see. Yeah, this is as close to being as a this is as close to being on an old Cunard ship as I'll probably ever get in terms of tea time and transatlantic crossings. Unless for some reason, when the Queen Mary reopens, they do afternoon teas every day, which they should. They should do afternoon teas every day. I think people would attend those. Yeah, it is really sad that we don't have like a tea culture here in the U.S. The tea culture we have is just, oh, what herbal tea are you drinking in your coffee mug today? It's not like this. This is cultured and sophisticated. Alright, so let's see. Yeah, Queen Mary, but I don't want to download Roblox. Matthew says you're hoping to sail on the Queen Mary 2 in a couple of years. Who knows? We might be on the same voyage. That'd be kind of fun. Meet people who know me on the voyage. S. Karthik says, according to which class of superliners had the most successful career? I think it's Imperator class. What are your views on that? I don't know enough about ocean liners to say which had the most successful careers. Yeah, I just don't know enough about that to tell you. I've only been into ocean liners for less than a year, and I still don't know very much about them. So I'm learning one ship at a time, going into their history and stuff, but yeah, I just don't know. Griff says, what are your thoughts on the SS United States? That's really tough to answer because if I say anything negative, people are going to think I'm not patriotic, which isn't true. SS United States was a fast ship, but that's where my compliments end. I don't have anything else good to say about SS United States. Not about the way it looks, not about its service or its style or anything. It's not a very interesting ship to me. So, I don't know, but I generally don't like post-World War II ships. I like ships that come before World War II. So that plays a part in it too, because I really like Art Deco style. I love Edwardian style. I love Victorian style. So, so ships from the 1890s all the way through the late 1930s are really more my thing. And so post World War II ships, they don't fit in that. Even the QE2 doesn't interest me that much. I don't like the style that much. But yeah, so I can't really find anything good to say about the SS United States. But yeah, I will say though, it does astound me that people hold it to such high standards, high esteem, whatever you want to call it, because it was fast, but I don't understand why some people feel like they have to choose either, because there's some people who their mindset is you either love SS United States or you love Queen Mary. You can't love both. And I don't understand that. There's almost like this rivalry where they're like, oh, Queen Mary should be sunk and SS United States should be rebuilt. And I'm like, why do you have to choose? If I had to choose, I'd choose Queen Mary. Queen Mary has done more for this country than the SS United States ever did. Ever. So I don't understand it. I don't understand the whole thing. Is it because it's colored red, white, and blue and it says Merc on the side? I don't get it, so there's my little rant about the SS United States. As you can tell, I have some issues. Matthew says, I love tea. There's just a small amount of us that do. Yeah, in the United States, there's a very small amount of people who actually like tea. And there's even less people who like tea this way. Like an afternoon tea. Armis Queen Mary says, imagine if Cunard commented on one of your lives. That'd be cool. I have spoken to Cunard in the past. They offered to help with research for my videos a long time ago. And I went back and forth with them, talking to them and asking them for information and stuff. And in the end, I don't know if it was because of the pandemic or something, but they just never got back to me fast enough, essentially. So I wasn't really able to use their information to make my videos, but I did speak with Cunard, and they know my channel. Cunard knows I make videos about the Queen Mary, and the people I spoke to from Cunard actually like my videos, so that's a good thing. So that's a good thing. Let's see. Yes, Alicia, I saw your previous comments. Haley says, what are your top 10 favorite Disney attractions? Let's see. Disneyland Railroad is number 1. Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, Jungle Cruise, Indiana Jones Adventure. Mark Twain Riverboat, Big Thunder Mountain, Alice in Wonderland, Pinocchio's Daring Journey, and Peter Pan's Flight. Yeah. Those are the top 10 Disneyland attractions I like. You'll notice I didn't put any other rides from other theme parks. That's because I actually like Disneyland rides way more than I like any other Disney park rides. Matthew says the Great Eastern on her maiden voyage had a boiler explode which blew her forward funnel into the air. Wow, really? That's crazy. That's why she had 4 funnels the rest of her career. Really? Wow. Alex says, what do you think it is about the transatlantic passage that fascinates people? I think it's the idea that you're kind of experiencing a different age. You're experiencing what it was like for people to travel as opposed to vacation, or as they might say in Britain, to holiday. Because in those times, the old times, people traveled because they had to. Tourism didn't really become a thing until, the late 1930s, 1950s, and 60s was when tourism really took off. But prior to that, traveling was very expensive, and people didn't often do it. So there is something about that. And then the other thing about transatlantic crossings is, depending on where you take, obviously there are certain ships that go transatlantic, and it's not the same. They're cruise ships, But if you're taking, QE2 back when it was going, or Queen Mary 2, or even just a Cunard ship going across the ocean, they do it in British style, and British style is often how those ships operated. Even if they were, ships from the French line or the German line, they often served afternoon tea and stuff because they had a lot of British passengers and stuff like that. Obviously they had a lot of passengers from their own countries, but it is interesting. I think that's what draws people to it. I know what draws me to wanting to do a transatlantic crossing on the Queen Mary 2 is trying to recreate that feeling of being on a transatlantic liner. And I have to do it on Queen Mary 2. I can't do it on the Queen Elizabeth. I can't do it on the Queen Victoria. I have to do it on Queen Mary 2. It's a liner. I have to be able to walk out of there and say, I took a transatlantic voyage on an ocean liner. That will make me happy. So that's at least what it's like for me. Time to pour more tea. Still warm, thank goodness. Alright. See, I'm really glad I had a towel down because I could have dropped that onto the counter. Jeez. Alrighty. Honest Queen Mary says, are all United States ships SS? Not always. SS stands for steamship, so if the ship was a diesel ship, it would have been MV for motor vessel. So, not necessarily. But then again, I don't know much about the United States line. I don't even think it was called United States line. It was called America line, wasn't it? Or is that wrong? Was it United States line? Maybe it was United States line. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. S. Carthage says, okay, another question. It came in my mind during the last stream. If Normandy was not destroyed by fire, how much would have been the impact on the careers of Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth? Not much, in my opinion. From my understanding of it, Normandy did not make that much money. She was in terrible debt. And Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth were more affordable to the average person. They were more inviting and welcoming to the average person. So SS Normandy would have just been this big, expensive ship that kept weighing everything down. The SS Normandy also didn't fill all of her rooms every time she set sail. So I imagine, and again, some people are going to be like, well, Alex, the reason why, but before you do that, I'm just saying that in general, I feel that SS Normandy, for whatever reason, she couldn't fill her rooms. For whatever reason, she didn't turn a big profit. I feel that would have dragged her down, and eventually the Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth would have still ended up on top. That's kind of how I feel about it. Matthew says, the SS United States, I would definitely say, is in a worse off state than the Queen Mary and would be harder to save. Oh, it would totally be harder to save, being that she's gutted. Yeah, that's exactly why. Because there's nothing left to save. It's one thing if the ship is like the Queen Mary, where there's tons of historic artifacts that are worth preserving. But there's nothing left on the SS United States. There's no historic artifacts on the ship. There's nothing left on the ship to save except her engines. So, if anybody's gonna spend a lot of money on the ship, it's probably just to rip out those engines, and if anything, build a museum to those engines. But that's not going to happen either. Who builds a museum just for a couple of engines? So, I guess my point is that yeah, I don't think the SS United States will be saved. I don't think anyone's going to do anything with it, because if they were, they would have done something by now. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. I hate to see any liner get scrapped. I'd hate to see any ocean liner end up in the scrapyard, because we don't have much of them anymore. So even SS United States, even though I personally don't like it, it is a bummer that it's probably going to meet a terrible fate, because, again, there aren't very many liners left. So it'd be nice to have them saved. And, and if someone could save the SS United States, that'd be great for the people who are fans of SS United States. Just because I'm not a fan doesn't mean I don't want anybody else to enjoy it. Of course I want other people to enjoy it. I'm always going to be visiting Queen Mary, but again, I wouldn't want any ocean liners to be destroyed. Unfortunately, many of them that are still in existence are still at risk of being destroyed. Yeah. Griff says, I forget when the Queen Mary will be reopened again. There's no official date, but they're trying to get the ship reopened by Halloween. But again, there's no official date yet, because it's hard to say. I can't pronounce her name. That is a nice Titanic Lego set. It's not Lego, it's an actual model that I built. But thank you. Alicia says, I've been on the arm as Queen Mary in 2009 when I visited California. Had a wonderful lunch and afternoon tea while I toured her, and I definitely agree that she is a happy ship, not a ship of angry ghosts. Yep. Aaron Estrada says, how did your cake turn out, Alex? It turned out wonderfully. I'll eventually post a video showing how I made it on the Alex Adner channel, but I have a lot of stuff to catch up on first. I can't work on that video yet. Matthew says, 2 dividers on the Great Eastern shut themselves into the double hull when she was scrapped. Their remains were found. Oh, riveters, not dividers. 2 riveters on... Wow. 2 riveters. Wow, that's crazy. Pookie says, I've been having trouble with the link to join your YouTube subscription. It's not an option for me to click on it. The text is just there. That's really strange. Have you tried... You're talking about the link that's in the description of the video, right? Maybe there is a problem with the link. I'll have to check on the link later, but there should be a button either on this video or on the home page of my channel that says join. So you can use that as well. So if you haven't tried the link in the description of the video, try the join button, which is on either this video or the main channel. Some people who are using their televisions to watch YouTube might have trouble finding the join button. But it's there if you use your computer or something. Tyler says, I did hear that RXR Real Estate Company is going to recreate her interiors. I don't know about that. RS Queen Mary says, does Queen Elizabeth have 2 propellers or 4? 4 propellers. Alicia says, I have subscribed to this and your second channel. When will you be doing the train game? Which one? The Disneyland Railroad game or the Railroads Online game? Either way, I don't know when we'll do it, but it's just whenever we pop onto a game or something. So, I know in the coming days we're going to do the Enlisted game again because my friend Shiloh wants to join again on Enlisted. But also sometime in the next couple days, we're also going to play the Railroads Online game because we still have more work to do on that one. So, you're welcome, S. Karthik. I don't think it was necessary that the Normandy was... Well, I mean, if you call it that, yeah, it is. It was in debt, but it was more like... the French government had given a, what do you call it, they partially funded the construction of Normandy, which a lot of governments used to do that for ocean liners back then. The difference is that those companies would pay back the government for the construction of those ocean liners. But with Normandy, it wasn't earning enough money. They weren't able to make those payments back. So they defaulted, I believe, if I remember correctly. And then when the Normandy burned down, there was definitely no money coming in for those payments. But I think the French line was bailed out because the French line represented France. And even if the French line was in debt, the French government wasn't about to sue them. So... because they represented France, Griff G says, do you prefer the Queen Mary interior or the Lusitania? Ooh, that's a tough question. I'd hate to choose, but I would choose the Queen Mary's interior, just because I tend to love Art Deco more than Edwardian styles. I love Edwardian styles. I just love Art Deco more. This egg sandwich is really, really good. But I just hate boiling eggs and peeling them. I hate doing that. That's why I don't make this very often. David says, have you been to Canada? No, I've never left the United States. Yeah, I'd like to see parts of Canada. Mostly Vancouver. Ivan says, what is the purpose of the expansion joints on Titanic? And was it visible on the ship? Yeah, it was visible. It wasn't just on Titanic. A lot of ships have expansion joints. And usually the expansion joints are covered with a brass metal plate that covers the expansion joint. What they are for is to allow the ship to bend slightly when it crests over waves or swells without actually breaking the upper levels of the ship apart. Because the way that it works is like, if you imagine a ship, right, and it goes over waves and stuff like that, and let's say it crests the top of a wave in the middle, the ship's going to want to bend like this, and the bottom parts are going to want to squish together, but they're so strong they don't, but the top parts are going to want to pull apart from each other, and when that happens, you could actually break stuff if you don't have expansion joints. So the expansion joints allow a gradual, like, separation of the top levels of a ship. Very gradual, by like a couple of inches at most. And it's just enough that the ship expands a little bit on the top levels as it crests the wave, and by the time the ship, hits the lower trough and the whole ship is finally supported by the water again, it can squish back down to being its normal size, for lack of better words. So that's what the expansion joints are for. Very useful, but the funny thing is that it's the expansion joints that can be a problem with ships like Titanic, because they believe that the ship split apart near or on one of the aft expansion joints for Titanic. Queen Mary has 3 expansion joints. I don't know how many Titanic had. I think Titanic had 3 expansion joints as well. But Queen Mary had 3 expansion joints. And today the expansion joints, well, they were recently causing a problem because for the Queen Mary, they weren't taking very good care of the expansion joints, and rainwater was getting underneath them and going down into the ship. And it was just rotting out like ceilings and things like that, so they had to actually do a lot of work to repair the expansion joints. As far as I'm aware, the Queen Mary's expansion joints are 100% repaired, so at least that's good, but it was causing a problem for a while. Armis Queen Mary says, how many propellers does Queen Mary 2 have? Queen Mary 2 technically has 4 propellers, but if you count the forward thrusters, that could be 3 extra propellers. So you're probably looking at 7 propellers in total, but if you're only counting the ones at the stern, then 4. Yeah. Matthew says the RMS Olympic sank a U-boat during World War I and also sank a lightship in 1932. That's true. Pookie says, do you know any more information on when Queen Mary was hit by a rogue wave? So there were 2 times the Queen Mary got hit by a rogue wave, but the worst one was in World War II when she was sailing. She was carrying around 15,000 troops on that voyage. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And it was a really bad storm. And when there are storms like that, sometimes it's best to go full speed, sometimes it's best to go half speed. It really depends on the weather and stuff like that, because with an ocean liner, if you go full speed during a moderate storm, you should get more stabilization from the ship. But if the sea is really rocking and rolling, then they'd want to slow it down, because then your stability issues would get worse. It's kind of weird how it works. But I don't know what speed the ship was going, but I do know that as she was going through the waves, she was hitting swells that were like 50, 60 feet tall. Those are swells that are big enough to actually go over the bow of the Queen Mary and crash over the top. The Queen Mary is used to stuff like that. I have a photograph of the Queen Mary hitting 60, 70-foot swells that were actually crashing into the forward superstructure of the ship. But when it comes to the rogue wave, the ship just lurched and plunged into this deep trough, and then rising up above her on the the starboard side was this massive wave that, people didn't believe how tall it was. Even to this day, some people go, oh, there's no way the wave was that big. But it really was, because the wave was so large, it literally knocked some lifeboats right out of their davits. They lost a couple lifeboats. I don't know how many. They lost like a 1 or 2 lifeboats from that. Other lifeboats were just loosened from their gear. It came crashing over the top of the ship, busting windows on the upper decks. It busted windows on the bridge, and I think even damaged the door on the bridge, because they had the door closed so that way the weather didn't get into the bridge. But it busted the door down. It washed some sailors that were standing on the decks right off the ship, and then down in the lower levels of the ship, portholes were busted open, and like the way it was worded in one of the books was that the men were washed into the hallways and stuff like that. It was really violent. The ship suddenly just lurched. It went from going forward to just suddenly going like that, and people thought they were hit by a torpedo. It was so violent. People actually thought the ship was hit by a torpedo, and that it was going down or something. And it just kept going and going and going and going and going until it reached about 52 degrees off vertical. And, like they say, just 3 more degrees, and the ship would have capsized, most certainly. Because the ship wasn't designed to go any more than 55 degrees off vertical. And even then, the ship was a little bit top-heavy because she was carrying 15,000 troops. She wasn't designed to carry more than 5,000 people on board. Even then, her comfortable capacity was 3,000 people. So, yeah, it was just a really violent day. There was so much damage to the ship. After the wave subsided, the ship was still on her side. And what happened was, the captain of the ship, I don't remember who it was. I don't remember what captain it was. But he ordered the ship to heave to. And what that means is, in terms of like wind, for instance, it means that if there's wind coming across the ship, then heave to means to go towards the wind. So that way the wind goes down the length of the ship as opposed to the side. So I think the ship stayed rolled over for like a minute or so, because after the wave crashed it, the ship was off balance and the wind was hitting it. So he ordered the ship to heave to. And what they had to do was they turned the ship all the way hard to starboard, and then they had the engines going full, at least at that point for sure. And then the ship suddenly swung around and went towards the wind. And then because of it swinging around, the ship actually was able to slowly right itself. And so, yeah, the story was incredible. Just absolutely incredible. And I can't even imagine being on the ship. But, you know, it's believed that lots of people died when that happened. Either getting, you know, washed off the ship, or having their rooms flooded, or getting, you know, knocked about while the ship rolled and suddenly people were, you know, standing on their walls, you know, that kind of thing. But no one really knows because, you know, the United States military never released the information on, like, who died aboard the Queen Mary for what reasons. So nobody really knows. But what we do know is that from eyewitnesses that were there, people were injured. People were washed off the decks. But how many? We don't know. So I'm actually in the process of updating my more popular video called The Queen Mary, Danger in Rough Seas. Or it's actually called The Rolling Mary, Danger in Rough Seas. I put out that video last year. It was super popular. It had like 300,000 views. But there wasn't enough information in that video. I didn't tell people in the video why the ship was prone to rolling. Although, of course, the rogue wave had nothing to do with the ship's rolling ability. But that was another problem. People thought I was trying to say that the reason why the ship rolled with the rogue wave was because the ship was prone to rolling. And so I have a lot of work to correct on that video, because the way I worded everything made everybody misunderstand what I was trying to say. And then, of course, I have a little bit of new information to add to the video, and also an explanation of why the ship rolled. Because back then, I didn't really know what metacentric height was. I didn't know, like, how ships worked. I wasn't much into the engineering of ships at the time of making the video. So now that I know a lot more about how ships roll and all that stuff, I can actually put that in there. So look out for that video in the coming month or so. It'll be an expanded video. Ivan Joseph says, how do they hide the expansion joints inside the ship? You can't, actually. They were covered in brass plates as well inside the ship, so yeah. You can see it if you watch my various Titanic videos where I'm walking around Titanic in the game. You can actually see the expansion joints. They're just brass plates that are all the way around. And Queen Mary has that too. You walk around the Queen Mary and you'll see the expansion joints. So they don't hide them. They're very much out in the open. Oh, I see. Okay. Griff says, do you think Port Disney would have been a profitable park if it was built? I think at first no, but then Disney would do what it does and just eventually revamp the park. Just like California Adventure, they revamped it and made it profitable. But no, I don't think initially it would have been profitable. Because whenever I look at the ideas for Port Disney, I'm like, I wouldn't want to spend my money there. Thomas says Titanic had 2 expansion joints, one between the bridge and the grand staircase, and the other between the third funnel and the reciprocating engine room casing. Okay. Hey Evan, how's it going? Tyler says, straight out of the Poseidon Adventure. I mean, kinda, but the Poseidon Adventure was based off of that event. Except it wasn't. Poseidon Adventure didn't take place during the war, but still. James Guy says, "Hi Alex, memories, my memories of my one and only Queen Mary tour are so vague. I'm glad I got aboard though." Yeah, I'm thankful that I was able to get aboard the Queen Mary before it closed. If I had known back then that the Queen Mary was going to close because of the pandemic, I would have come back soon after and kept videoing. I would have done things so differently back then. Like, even to this day, I'm still kicking myself about my choices of how to film the ship, because a lot of people don't know this, but I filmed a vlog on the Queen Mary. I spent the whole day filming myself walking around the ship and talking about the ship. And that was because I took for granted that the ship was going to be there forever. And so if I had known that the ship was going to close for 2 years and that I wouldn't see it for God knows how long, I wouldn't have filmed a vlog. I would have just filmed the entire ship quietly, done a whole walkthrough, every deck I could possibly walk on, every room I could possibly enter into. Like, I wouldn't have filmed a vlog. I would have just taken a lot more video if I had known. But I didn't know back then. And it just kicks me to this day. I just like that I don't have enough footage of the ship. I need more footage of the ship. High quality 4K footage of the Queen Mary to continue making more videos. That's why when the ship reopens, I have to get down there and film more, because there's so much more videos I want to make, but I don't have the footage of those places. It makes me upset whenever I think about it. Like, I just don't have enough footage. And I've looked online. Some people have footage of the ship, but it's not high quality footage. It's not what I need. You know, I need good footage. And so, yeah. I might have some contacts who will... I don't want to say who, but I might have some contacts who might be able to help me see some places on the ship that I really want to see. So that might help, but we'll see. We'll see how things go down. But my goal is when the ship reopens, I'm going to try to be there and film it. El Nino says, in Titanic Honor and Glory, in which rooms you can see the expansion joints, I really want to see how it looks. Yeah, it looks... I remember seeing them on the ship. It looked pretty normal. It's just brass plates that, you know, there was all the way around. Maybe I'll show you guys. Maybe, because I do plan to do more Titanic exploration videos from Titanic Honor and Glory on my second channel, on the Alex Adner channel. That's where I post all my historic games and stuff like that. So I might do a Titanic exploration video on that channel. So you should subscribe to the Alex Adner channel, spelled A-D-N-E-R. The link is in the description below. And you can see me play Railroads Online, the World War II games, the Disneyland Railroad game, stuff like that. And then, of course, Titanic, when I walk around Titanic and explore it. And I do it all live so I can talk to people as I'm playing. Those videos don't really belong on this channel. That's why I don't do them here. But yeah, so you'll be able to hang out with me and do them live and stuff like that. So you should join that channel. Let's see. As Karthik says, I think after the refurbishment work is done on Queen Mary, it would be a great idea to make it a full-scale hospital ship. It would gain more profit than she is now, inspired by your idea in last stream. I wouldn't want the Queen Mary to be a permanent hospital ship. I only meant during the pandemic, and it wasn't even my idea. It was the city of Long Beach's idea to turn it into a COVID hospital, and only temporarily. I wouldn't want the Queen Mary to be a permanent hospital because it's a museum. I want to preserve it as it is. I don't want to walk up to the Queen Mary and just see a shell of what it used to be, a shape left behind in the shape of the Queen Mary. I want it to be... I want to be able to walk on the Queen Mary one day, see people being entertained in the main lounge, see people eating food at the main restaurant, you know, see people walking the decks of the promenade. I want to see people, experiencing the ship as it was designed to be. I don't want to see it as a hospital. And frankly, it's a World Heritage Site to me. I wouldn't want people going there to, the Jewish people whose families sailed aboard the Queen Mary to safety. I wouldn't want them to come there and see a hospital ward. I want them to see the ship as it was and to be able to step back in time and appreciate it. So it needs to be a museum. It needs to be a museum. I don't want it to be anything else. A hotel, I'm only 50-50 on the hotel thing because like I said in the last stream, the ship gets so much damage from being a hotel already that I almost feel like the public doesn't deserve to have it as a hotel. They just vandalize it. It's so bad. But yeah, I wouldn't want the Queen Mary to be anything other than essentially a museum. I want it to be preserved, not completely revamped and destroyed and turned into something else. So, all right. Thank you so much, Kraken Teeth Gaming. Don't mean to sound like a nag, but can you raise your voice a bit? Your voice volume is coming in really low, and my headphones are up 100%. I'm sorry. I've been talking so much this past 2 hours, my voice is getting really hoarse. So I was getting quieter because it was just really difficult. And you know what really sucks too was, I already have a lapel microphone, and I bought an extension cord so that way I can connect it to my computer because you guys are watching me through a webcam that is sitting on my countertop, and my computer is like 15 feet that way. And so I bought a extension cord for my lapel mic and brought it all the way over here. And where is... Well, anyway, yeah, so I bought an extension cord, and for some reason, the lapel mic doesn't work with the extension cord. It's the right extension cord, it's the correct thing, it works, the extension cord works, it's just for some reason when the lapel mic is plugged into the extension cord, it doesn't want to work. So, and that was going to be my way to put the cord here so that way people can hear me. So I don't have to shout, because, yeah, whenever I do this live stream, I have to shout, and it just hurts my vocal cords, especially since I have to record videos sometimes afterwards. Alicia says, my grandpa recently died in 2021, my grandma died in 2010, and I currently live with my step-grandma and my parents, and my 14 sisters and one brother. Wow, that's a lot of family members to be living with. I'm sorry to hear about your grandpa and your grandmother, but, at least you're surrounded by family, Tyler says, I agree with you. If Queen Mary was converted to a hospital ship, she would look like an enlarged Britannic. Yeah. Let me see. Ivan asks, if you don't mind me asking, is YouTube your full-time job? Yes, it is. It takes a lot of work to run this channel, so please watch the videos. Drake says, I love the eerie propeller room. So do I. Somebody on YouTube posted a video recently showing them that it was a diver, and he went into the propeller box, and I guess somebody he knows was a diver who was cleaning the propeller box of Queen Mary's propeller room. So he actually got to dive in there and look at the propeller and swim around it. And that was a cool video. Very eerie, too, because you couldn't see the walls of the propeller box because it's just black. So it was just eerie to see that propeller just sitting there. So, really cool video. Pookie says, is this overhaul going to take years? Are they at least going to restore her to her former glory? The overhaul will take years, but the thing is that the overhaul is going to be in different phases. So it's not like they're starting and then there's an end date. it's currently undergoing its first phase. So the first phase is just like very, very like the most important few projects. I say few because every time I say the basic projects, people say it's not basic, but what I mean is that they needed the bilge pump system in case there was ever a leak on the ship. So that was absolutely positively necessary. That's one of the most basic things that a ship should have. Another thing that they are trying to do is that they are building up the watertight compartment walls. That's also necessary because if the ship sprung a leak, you don't want that water to just spread through the whole ship, or that could destabilize the ship. So that's something else that needed to be done. So there's only like a handful of things, like literally less than 5 things that they're working on right now for the Queen Mary. And so what am I trying to say? So once those are completed, we will have to wait for the next phase to begin. We don't know when it will happen. It probably won't be while the ship is under the control of Long Beach. It'll probably happen when the ship's ownership gets transferred to the Port Authority, is when they might start phase 2. So phase 2 could be 2 years from now, you know, even though phase 1 will end this. I think phase 1 will literally end this year. I think it'll be done by the end of this year. So we might not see phase 2 until 2024, maybe. So, and then phase 2 is like the second most important stuff. So phase 2 is like repairing the teak decking that is rotting, repairing the side shell plates on the promenade deck, that kind of thing. So the second most important stuff will be phase 2, and then phase 3 is the I'm trying to be very careful not to say restoration work, because restoration means you're returning it back to its former glory. That's not what they're doing. They're not going to make the Queen Mary like she was when she set sail. So they're not doing restoration work, they're doing preservation work. So part of the preservation work is things like sanding down the handrails on the ship and then covering them with brand new wood stain and brand new lacquer, so that way they are preserved. More preservation work is like doing ceiling repairs, so that way there's no like cracks or anything in the ceiling work. Replacing light fixtures that are broken, changing out the carpets, that kind of thing. So preservation work, not restoration work. So that's what's happening with the Queen Mary. But the thing is that, again, phase 2 and phase 3, we don't know when they will begin. But what we do know is that phase 1 work is designed to make the Queen Mary last 2 extra years. So that means that once they complete phase 1, then you got to start a timer. And in less than 2 years, they have to begin work on phase 2. So we'll see how it goes. Aaron Estrada says, Alex, favorite things to watch on Disney Plus. I don't really watch Disney Plus that much. I have it, but I don't watch anything on it. So I think if I do, I watch the Book of Boba Fett, and then I'm going to be watching the Obi-Wan show, whatever it's called, the one about Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I will be watching that. And then maybe The Mandalorian. I don't like The Mandalorian that much, but maybe The Mandalorian. So, yeah, I don't watch Disney Plus that much. Griff says, what's your top 3 ships? That's easy. Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth, Mauritania. S. Karthik says, what is the status of the Soviet sub beside the Queen Mary? in a recent report that was put out a couple days ago by the city of Long Beach, they are looking for options to remove the submarine. That's all they said. Nothing else. Nothing else. They are looking at options to remove the submarine. Aside from that, I don't know. There's no information. So that was posted, I think, 8 days ago or less, I think. So, March something. It wasn't 8 days ago, actually. I think it was posted March 11th. So I think, actually, that was only a few days ago. But still, that's the latest thing. All it says is they are looking at options for removing the submarine. So I'm happy with that. I hope they do. I want it out of there. First of all, because nobody's taking care of it. Second of all, because it ruins the view of the Queen Mary when you're standing on the dock and you want to take a picture of the Queen Mary or take video of the Queen Mary, and that darn thing is in the way. And thirdly, because it could, maybe, possibly, someday down the line, pose a safety threat to the Queen Mary if it continues to be neglected. So, I'm not going to say it will, I'm not going to say it already is, I'm just going to say maybe, possibly, someday down the line, could be detrimental to the Queen Mary. So anyway, yeah, that's that. Ivan Joseph says, did Titanic break bottom up or top down? It is currently widely believed that Titanic broke from the top down. NCC says 1907 Mauritania or 1938 Mauritania? 1907 Mauritania. 1938 Mauritania is nice as well, but I prefer 1907 Mauritania. So it'd be Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth, 1907 Mauritania. Anyway, I'm going to end the live stream now because we've been doing this for over 2 hours, but I want to thank you all so much for joining me. Be sure to subscribe to my second channel, Alex Adner. The link is in the description below. You can support this channel and the other channel if you join my Patreon or my YouTube membership. You get perks in return, such as getting your name in the credits of my various videos, or getting access to my Discord server where I can show you guys really cool things that I normally can't put out in public. So, like, there's some really cool stuff I want to do next, showing you areas of the Queen Mary that, like, no one's seen before, but I can't put it out in public because somebody else owns the content, so that kind of thing. So, so yeah, that's how you can support my channel. You can also donate to me on Venmo, or whenever I do live streams, you can do the live chat, what do you call it, thing. And let's see. Be sure to check out this Friday. I'm going to be doing a live interview. I'll schedule it so you guys can see it, but a live interview talking about what's happening to the Queen Mary. Some really shocking information that the people from the QMI Restore the Queen Foundation are going to be telling us about what's happening behind the scenes of the Queen Mary. And just some really shocking information about the city of Long Beach and how they've been treating the ship. So be sure to tune in for that this Friday, 4 p.m. on my Alex the Historian channel. I will schedule it so that way you guys can see the link and you can click on it and wait to watch it. But anyway, I want to thank you all so much for joining me for this live stream, and I'll see you all on Thursday. Bye-bye.